Welcome to Hey, Great Shot. This is the Great Shot Podcast, a Crack Rackets and Tennis Channel Podcast Network production. My name is Alex Gruskin. On tonight's show, got another edition of The Deciding Point, our weekly breakdown of everything happening across the Division I college tennis world. Of course, here on Wednesday nights, we break down the Division I men's action. And on tonight's show, we break down weekend number one of the 2024 NCAA tournament. Much like I said last night when breaking down the women's show, the women's event, you got just about every storyline you were looking for from the men in weekend number one. You want 4-3 thrillers, we got it. You want upsets of host seeds, we got it. You want hope seeds pulling Houdini acts to get to the round of 16. We saw that as well. Again, a little bit of everything dealt to us by the opening weekend of postseason play. Of course, here on tonight's show, we want to break it all down. We're going to go through all 16 of the regions. We'll talk about some of those thrilling first round matches as well. And then we'll get to the excitement. We'll preview the Sweet-16. So much great tennis on Friday and Saturday on our Cracked Rackets YouTube channel. Make sure you don't miss out. Make sure you tune into all the coverage myself. And of course, the man to my left here tonight will be helping to steer the ship. Of course, he's going to help me break down all the men's action tonight. Let's introduce him now. Of course, you all know him best as the forefather of the College Tennis Ranks Formula Predictions, never far from the listed UTR, the lean, mean Michigan Wolverine, the professor. It's Chris Halioris joining me once again. Chris, hey, great shot. Welcome back to the show. Weekend number one of the postseason now in the books. Did it live up to the hype in your mind, my friend?
I actually always look more forward to that weekend than I do this coming one, just because more matches, more opportunities for upsets, more crazy stuff to happen. And now it's just down to 8 matches on the weekend here. So not nearly as exciting, but yeah, I mean, how could you not love it? I don't think we're ever going to have a first and second round of the NCAA tournament where it's just 100% straight chalk and something doesn't either surprise you, or even in the cases of matches like we're going to talk about with, say, a Kentucky, maybe the result you got is what you thought you were going to get, but nowhere near in the fashion you thought you were going to get it.
No, absolutely. I love that. 8 matches this weekend, and it feels like we're being shortchanged. You're absolutely right. It's like kickoff weekend, this weekend, day one of the National Indoor Tournament. Those are the 5 best days, 6 best days probably on the college tennis calendar. Look, the national championship's really fun as well, obviously, but at that point, you're so sad because you're like, this is our final match of the season, and those feelings start to set in. Right now, it's all about excitement, and you're absolutely right. That's the one word that comes to mind above all others when I think about this opening weekend. We got excitement across the board. So, Chris Halioris, I'm excited to break it all down with you. Let's get to doing that now. Let's talk about the opening weekend of the 2024 NCAA tournament. Of course, we got to start with the upsets. We had 2 of them, 2 host teams knocked out in opening weekend regional play. Let's start with the 4-3 thriller. And I got to be on the call for this one. Oh my goodness, was it a delight. South Carolina goes on the road, battles the weather, and battles NC State successfully through with a 4-3 victory. The roller coaster ride that is South Carolina men's tennis in 2024 continues. Chris Halioris, I'll be brief with my synopsis of the match. I got to be on the call for this one. It was a very competitive doubles point. As expected, it came down to the number 2 double spot where South Carolina, down an early break, able to out-execute down the home stretch, get that break back, close things out. I believe it was 6-4 to clinch the doubles. Then the rain came. And of course, those of you familiar with the NC State court configuration know when you move indoors, you're moving inside to 4 courts only. And given South Carolina's struggles on court number 6 all season long, you thought to yourself, man, if they don't finish these out in these first 4, you probably lean NC State, right? Particularly with Damian Sylvester playing not top 500, not top 200. I would argue top 50 tennis through the first 14 games of his match at the number 5 spot against Jelani Sarr, because he didn't miss a first serve. He didn't miss a first forehand. There was a backhand line he hit where all he could do was start laughing because it was like, man, I really can't miss today. And again, you look at the numbers, we've talked about it on this show. South Carolina's been really bad at six singles all season long. Chris, this was a day where they had their full lineup. Casey Houle was in at the number 2 singles spot, and I say their full lineup, no Connor Thompson, so not really, but their full lineup that they can get to here this year pushes everyone down the spot. Thus, it's Lucas da Silva at that number 6 spot. And again, with everyone in the crowd watching him, the sophomore delivers 3-set victory over Jakob Katuch. South Carolina's roller coaster season continues, Chris. And this is the argument for why 4-3 matches, they may suck for a coach's mental health in the regular season, but you could just tell how calloused this South Carolina team was. Of course, they got another monster performance from Toby Samuel, 2-0 in singles and doubles. But man, on this day, it was doubles. It was Toby. It was Darabegi. It was Lucas da Silva. This team's just not afraid. And now we get the rematch in Charlottesville that I think a lot of people were hoping for. This was a great match. What was your read on it?
Yeah, well, I haven't even I haven't even. I'm not even going to say I haven't even because, well, I don't know. It might be one of the 2 interviews that you've done that I'll go listen to. I don't ever listen to your stuff. We all know this. Okay. So,
Nor would I
but
ever expect you to.
yeah, but I listen to the ones that are very interesting to me, and I love Coach Goffey, so I will have to go listen to that one. But I haven't yet, and I'm wondering if you got to it with him. My take immediately when I saw the fact that A, Casey Houle was in, and B, there was impending weather that made it look like we were headed indoors, is secretly in the back of his mind, Coach Goffey had to be like, this is exactly what I want. I want it all coming down to Lucas da Silva indoors. Don't let me have to wait on him outdoors, even though he's been good down the stretch. Get him indoors against an NC State 6. I want it all day. Just give it to me. And that's what he got. And and Lucas came through.
Yeah, and for Lucas to attack as frequently as he did, I mean, again, talk about saying, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. I dare you to beat me. And it was funny because, to his credit, Jakob Katuch, the freshman, he was better passing through the first 2 sets than Da Silva was in the outer third. But Da Silva lands a couple of passes in the game where he breaks, had fought off, I think, a break point chance in the game before. And that was all he needed. Like, was just executed exactly what he wanted to do. Didn't execute perfectly, but had a clear-cut game plan down the home stretch, knew how he wanted to go about winning that 3rd set and getting forward. And I mean, again, I think it's 11 4-3 matches that Coach Goffey mentioned his team has played this year. They've played 11 4-3. The Vanderbilt women have played 11 4-3. 22 Texas men, Chris, one of our favorite teams just from a roller coaster experience. They played 11 4-3. Like, it just doesn't happen very frequently. And man, we talk about it a lot. Josh Goffey, one of the best in the business we have right now, and the job he's done this year with this group, they're through to the round of 16. You might have said it after they beat Virginia and Charlottesville. You didn't say it in the month of March. You didn't say it in early April, but now SEC tournament final run and their season continues. By the way, even with this loss, just real quick, if NC State is lower than 8th in your preseason rankings, Chris, there will be an angry text sent your way because next season, this NC State team brings back everyone but Catry. Will Manning, who's had a really good junior year on the junior circuit, excuse me. He's going to get going and playing for this team. Katuch, another year more experienced. Tough loss for the Wolfpack, but man, like that's a potential top 5 team in 2025.
We'll see.
Yeah,
I mean,
might even be my hot take national indoor champions.
I don't even know. I can't even pontificate such things right now with the 5,000 guys there are in the portal until we see where they all end up. I had this discussion with somebody today. I said, I nobody's going to do it, I'm sure, but it's kind of the effect of unionizing, right? But I don't understand why would not the top 4 or 5 guys in the portal all go, you know what, guys? Let's go make Alabama State top 5. Let's do it. I want to just pick a school, that's never been, that's a mid-major, never been in the top 50 and go, yeah, we're going to do it there. Like, and you just shop around for the school that's got the money for all of
Yeah,
you. You
that's the
got the
thing.
money?
You
Okay,
need
we can all get paid. We got four, top four guys in the country in the portal, whatever. Let's all go there. But yeah, there's so much action coming obviously over the next month from the portal standpoint that it'll be interesting to see how it all shakes out for all the teams.
You mentioned it. They need the money, the scholarship money, maybe even the NIL money. But I'll tell you what, in theory, I love that idea. That sounds really fun to me. So again, players, you guys got each other's Instagrams. Hop in those DMs. It is portal season. We'll talk about that at the end again. Credit to South Carolina. 4-3 winners over NC State. Their season goes on. And then how about the Stanford Cardinal? Chris Halioris, you gave an impassioned speech. I don't even remember if it was for or against Stanford. There was just a lot of passion behind it. The word hate was thrown around.
I
Well,
did
guess what?
pick them though.
Yeah, that's true. Hate so much that you love them again, or
Yeah.
love them so much that you hate them is probably the better option. Well, guess what? Cardinal through to the round of 16. Third straight year, Chris, they've had to go on the road in this opening regional action. Third straight year. Harvard, Columbia, now add Oklahoma to the list of host teams whose seasons they've ended over these last 3 seasons. And look, on paper, this is who we thought Stanford would be all season long. Well, they're starting to play like it. Chris Halioris, you look at the mechanics of their 4-2 victory, they're able to take a very tightly contested doubles point, 7-6 clinch from Banerjee and Bosforetti at the number 2 spot. And then look for Neil Rajesh to go to Norman and get a 6-4-6 win over a Justin Schlagener, who's been nails all season long, for freshman Nico Godzik to get a win over senior Mark Mandalik 2-4 at that number 6 spot. I don't know if Mandalik's lost more than 5 matches all season long. That's the MVP for performance. To beat Oklahoma 5-6, not an easy task. Obviously, Samir Banerjee, the marquee clinch, 7-6 in the third. He knocks out Colomansi. Bosforetti was up 5-3 in the third on Martinez in a match that was moved ultimately indoors. Look, the best teams win at 5-6. We say that from the start of the year. We have to say that in May. This is the most dangerous team, Chris Halioris, because you still have no idea how good they are. Stanford Cardinals through the rounds of 16. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it. Well, what's interesting to me is, look, we all kind of thought that was had a very good chance of happening. We picked that to happen 3 years in a row. They kind of get into that same pattern, and I think what makes it interesting is I think they have a decent setup here for a very good chance to make it through because you've talked about at least another match that's got this sort of interesting contrast in styles where one team's got a really good top, the other team's got a really good bottom. We're going to see that here for Stanford, and I think it's going to be whose strength comes out best. But look, we could be seeing them at the final site. I don't think, based on what we saw, even in the Pac-12 tournament, that I would consider them to be any sort of major threat for a national title. But I absolutely think we could see them in Stillwater.
Yeah, I mean, look, their 4-0 win in round one over SMU was pretty darn impressive as well. That is a deep SMU team. And, again, it was 4-0. I would point out that, man, I almost nailed the match calculus of an upset on that perfectly. Stanford made things look really easy in doubles, but like Barton was up a set on 6. Neff did have one of those days and was up a set in 4-1 on Basing. And yet, again, Rajesh on that day played 4. He was 2-2 at the 4 spot. Godzik 2-2 at the 5 spot, and then Bosforetti a 2-5 win over Trevor Spida. Like, come on now, I'm the best player. I'm the guy in college tennis sort of stuff. And then on the road, 5-3 up on Martinez in the third, of Martinez, who beat JPJ at home earlier this season, a top 10 guy himself. This team's really talented. Like, again, it's just a question of which Stanford shows up on any given day. Can Godzik do that again on the road? I'm pretty sure this team, by the way, didn't go home. Like, I'm pretty sure they went straight from Norman to Winston-Salem, because why go all the way back to Palo Alto for 36 hours? It's fascinating. I'm fascinated to see how this Stanford team ultimately does perform because you're absolutely right. And we'll talk about it in the preview. There's a pathway there for them, not just against Wake, against everyone. Like that's the sort of talent they have on paper. It's a really good win. It's an impressive weekend for the Cardinal. Now, if you're Oklahoma again, it's devastating. Like this team was good enough to be at the national indoors. This team was good enough to be in the Sweet 16. And man, two brutal draws, right? They had to face Tennessee. I guess to some extent they pick that draw, but you don't always get to pick exactly where you want to go in that kickoff weekend draft. I mean, you're the 11th seed and you're dealt 19 Stanford, like a test case. Excuse me. The beauty of being live. A test case for why we need to stop doing. I mean, I get why we want to minimize the cost for as many teams as possible, but maybe you do that for the 3 and 4 seeds, and you do try to keep the 2 seeds more competitively balanced. And 1 through 32, you seeded. We've talked about the pilot program before on this show, Chris. Tough way for Oklahoma season 10 because again, that was a very good, very experienced team. Stanford can do that to you. Any final thoughts on the region?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think they're just it's going to be fascinating to see them play. They have, they're finally. I want to say they seem like they're rounding into form, but look, we're only a a week and a half removed from getting blanked in the final of the
Yeah.
Pac-12, right? I
And
think
we
the
only have a week and a half left of the season. It's like, yeah, they're finally rounding into form.
Yeah, it's just I mean part of that honestly is the a side effect of having a bunch of freshmen and a bunch of young guys
Oh,
on a team. It's just, you just can't make up for all of that experience in college tennis, and you're going to have more ups and downs out of those guys than you probably are out of seasoned juniors and seniors. And if they can put it all together at the right time, I still wonder, when you start playing the top teams, can they compete at 5 and 6? But if their top four can do what they're doing, it may not matter.
yeah. Again, it's a fascinating matchup. We will talk about more when we preview the Sweet 16. Those were your two upsets again. 14th seeded NC State, 11th seeded Oklahoma knocked out of the opening week in the opening weekend of the tournament. Let's talk about the Houdiniacs, Chris, the escape artists of the opening weekend, because we had three of them, I thought. First and foremost, Kentucky, once again. And this is what maybe they've been best at um, relative to anyone in the country this year is getting out of these tight matches, finding their way to 4 points. And, again, it's been fascinating to me because obviously I've gotten to talk to a lot of head coaches over the last 3 days. And a lot of them, when I ask, give me a team or a storyline that's impressed you most, a lot of them keep turning to this Kentucky team, Chris Halioris. And I think a lot of that is because, again, you lose Draxel, you lose Diallo, you lose Hurrian, you lose all these key cogs over the last or from the last 2 runs. And yet here they are once again, undefeated regular season, undefeated SEC tournament, and from a doubles point and 3 first sets down against Illinois, a breakdown in the third set at 5. Kentucky escapes 4-3 victory over the Illini. Jack Lautit, the freshman, once again delivering. This time it's 6-4 in the third over Okonkwo to send his team through to the next weekend. You had Lapidad 5-2 down in the opening set. He takes it 7-6 in what was ultimately a straight set win over Heck. By the way, Illinois didn't play Ozalins, Heck, or Petrov in round number 1. They ultimately got through over Toledo, but that match got sneaky close there for about a 30-minute stretch, Chris Halioris. And, again, this Illinois team showed at different points this season they could play top 10 tennis. They brought that to Lexington. Kentucky weathers the storm. What'd you see from the Wildcats?
I mean, it wasn't interesting for 30 minutes. Illinois was the clear favorite for a long time in that match.
Mm.
I mean, they got up quick. They got the doubles point. They got up quick in a bunch of first sets. Like you said, Lapadat looked toast. I thought it was actually 5-1 at one point. I don't remember for sure. Maybe it was only 5-2, but yeah, he was down double break and gets them both back. But they were just, I mean, they were just flat out getting beat early. I had, look, I've made no qualms about it. I think between Ohio State and Kentucky, that's the battle for the best 4, 5, 6 in the country. I had that match on my stream. And clearly there are guys watching us during the week because those same guys that were watching the match were commenting in the stream, like so much for the best 4, 5, 6 in the country after they didn't look so good in the first set. I mean, they got killed like, I don't know, it was 6-1 or 6-2 on five. And I think Kosnea ended up going down. But I mean, it just didn't look good. And I said the same thing then that I was saying is, look, Loudis played like three setters all year. It's never straightforward. It's never, I'm just going to come out and beat you 2-2. It just doesn't seem to work out that way. And it was an absolute dogfight. And when Okonkwo went up that break in the third early, that's when it got really interesting. And I think I'm trying to remember how late he held it. I think 4-2, maybe.
Yeah, I think so as well. I think
And
last four games went to Loudit. Allowed
Yeah,
Pete.
and Loud really, I mean, he turned it on. And as you mentioned, no Zolins, no Heck, no Petrov day one. And I was curious to see how many of them we would see. And yeah, when they're all in the lineup, that team's a dogfight. I did a little looking through, by the way. I didn't write it down or get counts, but if you go onto the website and you look at the ATP players, the rank or the in the pros rankings for guys, and you sort them by school and you look down and you look at those lists and you start looking to say, well, how many of the current players are there? I always look for teams that have like 5 or even
Yeah.
6 of their guys, let's say with points. That Illinois roster, Heck's got ATP points. Miyoshi's got points. Ozalin's got points. Petrov's got points. Okonkwo's got points. Sifo's got, well, that's the wrong. He's gone now. But I mean, all of those guys we just talked about, Heck, Miyoshi, Ozalin's, Petrov, Okonkwo, all ATP ranks. I mean, it's a really, really good team if they're all there. They just didn't have them all there that much. And they really pushed Kentucky. And in the end, it's exactly what we've talked about. The strength comes through that bottom of the lineup. Yeah, Kosnay doesn't get the win, but Lapadat turns around from 2-5 down there and wins very impressively from that point moving forward. And I think that was a big catalyst for them when they got that one.
Yeah, that was a massive swing, certainly, because it was that first set to kind of level things and say, all right, we're back in this. Someone's going 3. Someone always goes 3 sets. And you're right. It's a season of what ifs for Illinois. It felt like they could never get healthy, never find a month-long runway to play their best tennis, even if we certainly saw it over the course of a few weekends here or there. But Kentucky escapes. It's what they've done all season long. Perhaps no one other than South Carolina as well is going to be more comfortable staring down the barrel of defeat than this Wildcat team in this postseason run. They are ultimately through 4-3 winners over Illinois. How about Wake Forest? Chris Halioris, they ultimately get Luca Pau back, as Tony Bresky called it, a freak back injury in the ACC tournament, but the freshman back ready to go. They needed him and a little bit of luck as well down the home stretch. They got pushed by Arizona State, grinding their way, Wake Forest, to a 4-3 victory. Holden Coons at the number 5 singles position, 6 singles, delivering as he has all season long. He clinches 7-5 in the third from a set down. Again, credit to Arizona State. They dropped the doubles point in this match, but Max McKinnon had a day at the number 3 spot, 2-1 over Thompson. Jacob Bullard had a day, 3-3 over Taki at 4. The top 2 battles. I think what's most impressive about this, Arizona State got to 3 points without Murphy Cassone, right? And look, when they have 3 points on the board and Murphy's still on court against Filippo Maroni, in your head, you'd be justified if you said, wow, I think I lean Arizona State right now. But
Cassone won, didn't he?
I think Maroni won 6-4 in the third. Am I wrong? Or
Don't
is
know.
that flipped? Is that
I was
incorrect on the
thinking I
stream?
was thinking Bohr lost.
No, Bohr won 6-4 in the third.
Okay, so it
At 2.
was.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was Bohr who got the win there. See, we were busy calling other matches.
I know.
Um,
That was a killer trying to keep up with those matches when you're actually calling others.
100%. That said, again, credit to Filippo Maroni, who now has wins this year over Murphy Cassone and Antoine Cornet-Chauvin. Like, we know how good the guy's best can be. And then again, Coons comes through in the clutch. Luca Pau, I think, is 24-2. A very strong case for freshman of the year, as when we give out our fake awards at the end of the season. doubles held on. Like doubles 5 and 6. Wake Forest knows how they're getting to 3. Then they have to find one more point in that top 4. It's the anti 2018 lineup, Chris, where it was 1, 2, bar. Excuse me, 1, 2, 3. Find one more. Scander, not bar. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah. Now
Tony's
they've
just
just
yeah.
flipped.
Tony just wants to make sure he tries every permutation at some point in his career. Um, Wake escapes at home. Like that again, a team that, by the way, like we haven't kind of seen in this postseason push in a couple of years, like be in the final 8 with a serious shot. This was a good win for him.
Yeah. Great win. And look, I mean, you look at their team, the top three, look at 1-3 combined, they're 500 on the year. We're talking
Yeah.
about a top 6 team that's only 500 there, and they're only 5 matches over 500 at 2. So their top 3 spots are basically a wash. How you get to be number 6 in the country with that, it just means that's how good you are down low. So, very similar stories, I would say, for teams like Wake and Kentucky, but that just makes it, to me, and we'll get to it in the preview, all the more fascinating for the weekend when you have a team that's so good at the bottom versus a team that's going to be so good at the top, and how's it play out. But yeah, that's for that reason that match gets really exciting to me this weekend.
And you almost have to pick Maroney over Boston already because it's like, no, for the biggest matches, that's when he gets up. Like that's what we've learned this season. And so, yeah, I mean, again, it's a crushing loss for this Arizona State team who
Yeah, I mean,
played
5 all in the third on 6
yeah.
for Holden Coons and Martin Vergara.
Yeah, and again, they did it without Murphy. Like they were right there in this match, and it's the one time this season Murphy hasn't gotten that definitive victory at the top spot. Again, the junior's been so good all year long. Not trying to put the blame on his shoulders. I want to be clear there. Man, they were close. Wake Forest needed all of it. Again, they needed every bit of that Holden Coons magic at 6, and this is what the 5th year transferred from James Madison to play, right? This sort of match for this Wake Forest team. He's been a workhorse all season long. He's been number 1 in the country in doubles with DK Suresh. They earned another victory, by the way, at that top spot this weekend. Wake Forest 4-3 over Arizona State. And then last but not least, of the escape artists, you all hear it in my tone. Chris knows where I'm headed. There was, I can show you a group chat I'm in. There was a 20-minute stretch or however long that rain delay was where it was a legitimate conversation. Hey, man, Michigan can come out and beat this Columbia team with what's remaining left on the board. And again, credit to Columbia. Took it to the Wolverines in the doubles point. Michael Zhang came out so hot against Gavin at that number 1 spot. And I think he raced out to a 5-1 lead. And again, the Kotzins and Westfall were playing really good ball at the top 4 spots. But I'll tell you what, the unexpected development of this Michigan season, Chris Halioris, was how good Cooksey and Steiglener were down the home stretch at 5 and 6. And again, to beat Hashimoto and Ruger on the road, like on the roof in straight sets, it was a massive performance for the Wolverines. And look, when Bjorn took that first set 7-6 at 3, Patorn may have lost the first set, but you thought to yourself, yeah, it's Patorn. He'll be fine. Like Michigan got in the fight. And again, it was down to third sets. Bjorn at 3. Bickerstaff forced a third set against Alex Kotzen at 2. And he goes up a break in that third set as well. Bjorn forces a third set breaker, and he won the first set in a breaker. He's up 5-3 in the breaker. You think, oh my God, Bickerstaff up a break in the third. The pathway is there. And then credit to this Columbia team. They're like, nope, we are not losing here at the Milstein Family Tennis Center to end our season. Finds another gear, does Max Westfall at that number 3 spot. Nick Kotzen at that number 3 spot. Columbia survives. 4-2 winners over the Wolverines. It's a really good win for this Columbia team. Again, a group that 2 years ago or last season, I forget what year it was, got knocked off. I think it was last year by Stanford in the round of 32. Like to get back to the round of 16, it's where a top 8 seed should be. And now they get to host that super regional as well. What was your reaction to this one?
Yeah, I mean, look, they let Michigan, they jumped up early. They let Michigan in the match. And as you mentioned, when jump all the way to the end, when Swenson goes up 5-3 in the breaker and Bickerstaff had a 5-4 lead that he was broken in, but it felt like actually at that point, the momentum was on the Michigan side. And then Swenson loses the next 4 points to lose the breaker, and that ends up being the match. But it's a great way, a great fight from Columbia at home to come away with that. And it's heartbreaking for Michigan to end the year. I'm with you. Based off the way the year started, look, Cooksey was just downright bad to start the year, and Steiglander didn't even start. They played I think Mert the first match. I got to see Steiglander play down at Tennessee, and I think he played Diaz and beat
Yeah.
him. And like I was like, wow, this why is he not playing already? That kid can play. I think just a good year overall for him. Things look very promising for them. It's a year or two. I don't know. Who knows what kind of portal things happen, recruits happen. It's a little early for the first year coaching staff at Michigan, right? They had the team they inherited, and they did it with what they had, and with Nino going down injured, a great year for them. But none of that's going to take away from what Columbia did. And yeah, they've made it to the Sweet 16, two Ivies in the Sweet 16. Great story. And now we just get to see if either one of them can manage to make it through this weekend.
Almost had 4 Ivies in the round of 32 for the second consecutive season. Ivy League tennis is certainly coming. This Columbia team's 22-3, Chris. Like their losses were Harvard at the National Indoors. I think they lost a 5-2 match to Wake in Winston-Salem at the start of February. And then that weird loss to
Cornell.
Cornell. Yeah, that's it. Those are the 3 losses. This team has wins over Tennessee, over Michigan, over NC State, over the 2 teams they beat, Alabama, Duke at the National Indoors as well. Like, teams had a really, really good year. And again, Michael Zhang went up 5-1 on Gavin Young so fast. It just felt like Gavin was playing behind from the start. And, again, that's Zhang has had a quietly another spectacular season in year 2 on the job. Been in that top 25 hunt all year long, even if he hasn't maybe made that leap to #1 player in the country conversation that we thought he might after he played Styler as well as anyone not named Ethan Quinn at NCAAs last year. But yeah, like this team lost 4 first sets in singles, Chris, in this match. Michigan did take 4 first sets. They got 2, they got 3, they got 5, they got 6. Columbia finds their way through the round of 16. Really impressive again. Houdini escape. And yeah, you're right. If you're a Michigan fan moving forward, sneakily now, 5 of the 6 starters can come back. Gavin, Cooksey, Patorn, Steiglander, Bjorn, like they can all come back. Yeah, you got to replace Bick. You played a year without Nino, but it did feel like at times, especially against the best of the best, you were a little bit shorthanded. Obviously, Sean, Trevor, Max, they got to get recruiting, but there's a core there for this team to stay really competitive next season because, again, they didn't have a wave of 5th years on the roster this year. These are guys who still have more time left in Ann Arbor. So, again, definitely exceeded expectations this Michigan season, but that's enough time on the Wolverines. It's Columbia who finishes our escape artist category, 4-2 winners over the Wolverines. Next group of teams here, Chris, and we can go through these and the rest a little bit quicker, but I have this category listed as well then. That was impressive. Teams that earned definitive victories that I just didn't see coming heading into this opening weekend of play. And I think #1 on that list for me, and yeah, they chirped me after the fact. I smiled. I'm not going to lie. But how about Harvard? 4-0 over Michigan State. Again, like this is a Harvard team that we talked all season long. They got the big guns on up top, like with Cooper and Henry von der Schulen, Cooper Williams, Henry von der Schulenberg, excuse me, Daniel Malofsky, as I talked about with Coach Rube, has clearly had his best season. Ronan Jachuk, not only is he chirping me, but I'm not picking against him. Like senior is a rock at 4. They played around a lot all season long at those 5 and 6 spots. But, again, looking back at this weekend against Michigan State, it was a pretty, I mean, you beat anyone 4-0. Obviously, you got to have good performances all the way around. But, again, for Harvard, it wasn't Cooper who needed to beat Ozon, right, for them to get through in this one. It's a really good win from the Crimson. What'd you see? What'd you think?
Yeah, look, first of all, I'm way too old to do Instagram, so I don't know if we did we actually post that video that you're talking about?
I stay off of Instagram because as you know, I get distracted easily enough. I think Harvard posted it, truth be told.
That was yeah, it was excellent. Props to you guys. We both got roasted. Gruskin by Harvard, me by Middle Tennessee this weekend.
Correct. Means we're
But we
doing
love it.
something right, Chris. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. We love. I mean, look, if nobody ever talked about us, it wouldn't be much fun. Like,
Yeah, we're
please.
not. What are we here talking to ourselves?
Yeah, we're never gonna get everything right, and
Yeah.
it's all in good fun. So
Yeah.
that was awesome. No, I think it was. Look, this was one of the sexier upset picks, right? I
Mhm.
mean, a lot of people wanted to take Michigan, a lot of people wanted to take Michigan State over the two Ivies, and then obviously the ones down low. But of the slightly higher seeds, those were the two sexy ones, and the Ivies came through. And yeah, anytime that Michigan State team when you've got Ozan and Ronnie and Thanos in the top three spots, they're going to be really dangerous. And to put them down 4-0 the way Harvard did was just very, very impressive. And I think, and they're going to get a matchup now that they're very familiar with because they've already played this year. So I think that's going to be a very interesting match. But Harvard looked outstanding this weekend.
Yeah. Again, Cooper was up 6-3, 5-0. Malovsky 4-2. Janchuk 3-2. Morali was up 7-5, 4-2 at 5, and then Pereira the clinch 3-4 at the 6th spot. That was a really good performance. Now on the other side, is this a disappointing year for Michigan State in your mind, ultimately, given where we thought they might be after the Marita commitment in the offseason? Obviously, they weren't there. They ultimately weren't able to get him eligible this year. But like, where do you rate this Michigan State season?
For me, I put it right about where I would say what I would have expected. I didn't think they were going to be a top 15. I thought they were going to be challenging and I thought it would be a good challenge for top 20. I mean, sure, with Merida, okay, maybe a different story, but look, this is the first time they've been in this situation, right? And I don't think I could have expected, there's no way I could have said, hey, I expect you to host and I expect you to make the Sweet 16. I think that would have been a bit too much. Was it a goal? For sure. I mean, and amongst the team, I'm sure that was the goal. Would I say it's a disappointment? My guess is, yeah, the guys are probably a little disappointed, thought they could have done it. But from the outside looking in, no, I think they would have been, somewhere close to like a 50-50 shot for trying to make it. And they just didn't quite get themselves into a host spot and get there. I think it's right about on par with what I would have expected. And if they get the guys that can come back to come back next year, right? I think they just lose uh Collard
Ronnie
and
and
Ronnie.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you get Ozon back, you get Thanos back, you get some guys coming in. Obviously everybody's scouring the portal. So who knows what you get there. There's a really good chance they can continue that. And that's, I mean, it's a bright future. And I say assuming, and I don't have anything to say otherwise. I think that Thanos and Ozon are coming back, but that it's a great core to start with.
I think it's an A+ season. It's probably the best season in program history. And the joke I used to make is give me year 2 at X school and I'll turn them like top 10. It was top 20 for Harry in year number 2 at Michigan State, and you saw what he could do with his first full off season. This team was extraordinarily competitive. And as we've learned in college tennis history, you have to lose those matches before you learn how to win them. Unfortunately, they were on the wrong end of all the matches they wanted this year. That Arizona tournament final, the 2 Michigan matches, obviously this one against Harvard, but there was a lot of winning mixed in between to start things out the way they did on the West Coast in Malibu, and again to beat Illinois in Champaign 4-3 in the fashion that they did. Ozon and Sheldon, how good they were in the fall, and still have an NCAA tournament ahead. All signs are pointing up. And a lot of that can be because of the efforts of Harry Jaden since he's taken over. And obviously, it's the players who win the matches, but players don't come to the school without the head coach. And so I still think massive victory, even if this was a disappointing ending. That's the last one we're going to spend a long time on, I promise, because otherwise we'll be here until play starts on Friday, Chris. And you got to work tomorrow, and I got more coaches to interview. So I actually have to work tomorrow
You have to
too.
work tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
your job's not really like work. Mine's work.
I know, exactly. I get to have so much fun. Except for like after interview 5 when a coach goes, "Are your eyes open, Alex?" And I'm like, "Yeah, you just can't tell."
Yeah.
Anyways, Duke 13th seed 4-0 over Alabama. Like it's a really good win for a Duke team, obviously over in Alabama. I call it Cedric Coffin mentioned it in his interview. You should go listen to that one. It was very good. They're all very good. I'm just trying. Chris might listen to it because he lives in the state of Kentucky. Anyways, um, it should have been they give out a trophy at the end of the regional, not just you're through the Sweet 16, but the congratulations, you're the true beater of Kentucky this year, because those are the two teams that have beat Kentucky, Duke and Alabama. And there should always just be a trophy for those little weird things that come up. But again, 4-0 was the list, by the way. 4-1 was the final score. 5 ultimately did finish. Roan Jones got a win over Ferris Khan before things were clinched. But again, they did it without Johns. Like doubles, which they're always very good at. Rodinas playing so much better to end the season, back to his last year form. Zhang has been, I would argue, his best year on the job. And then Connor Krug found something. 4-4 over Aguiard. If that's the Krug they get in the NCAA tournament, it's a different Duke team. Blue Devils, again, I thought that was impressive.
Yeah, I had that one on my stream, and you called it. The surprising match there was Krug and Aguiard. I mean, look,
Yeah.
Alabama had sort of a middle, a top middle of the lineup that was almost upside down. Aguiard spent some time out this year with injury. Mateus Ponce de Leon was up to 2. He'd played 3 and 4 all year. It was almost like they turned their 2-3-4 upside down, and it was way too much to ask of De Leon playing Rodanius. That was just ridiculous. I mean, Pedro just ran away with that. But that should have meant advantage Aguiard, and Connor Krug was great. And it wasn't even, well, at least most of them, a lot of the match anyway, outdoors. Yeah, just he looked so good. Obviously, we all know if you're going to beat Duke, you got to beat him down low, right? I mean, they're good at doubles. You got Garrett Johns, you got Rodanius. You better win 3 of the 4 matches at 3 through 6. And Duke was just, I mean, really, really good. They looked great. Probably the best I've seen them this year. It sets up a in my mind, another interesting one, because sure, TCU looked great as well. I still don't know how healthy they are. So that's going to be a good looking match, I think.
It's gonna be very fun. I'm looking forward to it, and again, this is a good year for Alabama. Like a group that's been through a lot over the last half decade. I think this was one of Georgia's better teams in quite some time. I thought he did a great job with them again, making the national indoors, and again, this was just Duke, kind of a group with a bunch of different seniors who all want, again, this is what they've been waiting for all season long. One more chance to make another run. Back-to-back Sweet 16s for this Duke core. Impressive stuff. 4-0 over Alabama. Wasn't a 4-0 win, but everyone and their mother picked San Diego to advance out of that Texas A&M regional in College Station. And I'll tell you what, A&M took the doubles point. They were kind of in front from the start in what was ultimately a 4-2 victory over San Diego, Chris. And, the big thing, J.C. Roddick, who him clicking the way he has this year has kind of propelled Texas A&M into that top 16. A bunch with Rafa Pro taking a leap forward. You can point to a bunch of different things, but Roddick's really the new piece in that lineup. He gets the clinch in 3 sets. They get a 4-2 win over San Diego, a win I don't believe you picked last weekend, Chris. It's really good stuff for an Aggies team that limped to the finish line.
Yeah, look, I talked to the coaching staff there fairly regularly, especially Coach O'Shea, and the first thing he asked me was, "Now, be honest, who'd you pick?" I said, "Come on, man. This is actually, I will say this, almost verbatim, my answer to him were like, I picked San Diego, man. You guys were trash down the stretch." And which none of which is false. Like, I mean, they lost the matches going into the SEC tournament. They lost the Alabama swing to both Auburn and Alabama. They lose first round in the SEC tournament. Nothing gave me any indication that, that they were going to be ready for that. And they looked great. They take out San Diego. The fact that they left it down, that, they were able to get it to where it came down to J.C. Roddick, I think was, for them, that's a good sign. He's been very good for them this year. Perot and Tarvett was going to be a tough one to win, even as good as Rafa's been this year. When they had those, but they had Roddick to clinch it for them. Very good sign. they looked great. And yeah, give them props. My only comeback was, hey, I picked you guys kickoff weekend at Georgia.
Yeah, it's not unfair, Chris Halioris. And, again, it's disappointing loss, certainly for the San Diego team that was top 16 good every match they played except for the Pacific one this season. And again, that one match maybe dictates this loss because if they beat Pacific, they probably end up as a top 16 seed, right, Chris? And it's why every weekend, every match, you can't overlook anything because, again, ultimately, at some point, you'll pay the cost if you have that off day. And man, again, part of the discredit to A&M, like Luke Casper, 3-1 at 6. Didn't have that on my bingo card. Parego delivering again at the 3 spot, them winning doubles. Again, Parego and Tokat's clicking as well as they have this season. I think they're 14 in the country right now. This A&M team's good. They're deep. They got a lot of fun pieces. And finally, after, again, a month that was a disaster, there's no doubt if, they would love to give you a Men in Black little and have the, Chris, you're not too old to not know that reference, right? Yeah, the little
I know
mind
that
buffer.
one.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think you did that to Trevor ages 12 to 14, just like after every bad loss. You're like, we're going to forget this one, Trevor, and let's go to the next tournament.
Three-setter indoors to Van Amberg in Wisconsin.
I like that you have a specific example.
Yeah, that's
That's
it.
why.
First ever national final indoors. He's never won a match indoors in his life. I'm erasing that right away.
Last but not least, speaking of Trevor Fauché, Mississippi State, 16 seeds, 4-0 over Middle Tennessee. Obviously, Middle Tennessee was so good in their round one win over Georgia Tech as well. Didn't have that expected, and that was certainly impressive. Them getting to round two, losing 4 starters from last year. But man, I could argue that was the best the Bulldogs have looked all season this weekend. It was the first weekend where they've just kind of come out and be like, no, we're not playing around. Let's get through this comfortably. Dare I say this weekend was everything kickoff weekend wasn't. And I'll tell you what, as a coach, you want to get better in May than you were in January. I think if you're Coach Roberts, Coach Jacoby, you got to be pretty happy with how the Bulldogs performed this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. Another coaching staff I talked to, fairly frequently, and that was the message for sure. It was, yeah, that's the best we've looked. Look, I had them on the stream this weekend as well. I'll be honest, after the first round match with Alabama State, I was actually a little concerned because that's a match that, you expect to just sort of go in and roll if you're playing your full lineup, and they played the full lineup. And there were some matches that were much tighter than I expected for sure in that match. And I thought, wow, if we're going to play this one that tight, it's going to be interesting tomorrow when you're going to get Middle Tennessee, who played earlier in the day. And man, when they got to Saturday and faced off against Middle Tennessee, they just absolutely rolled. That was as good. I've had them a lot on the SEC broadcast this year. That was as good as they have looked as a team all season. And I think, gives them a lot of confidence. I mean, obviously, you're going into a juggernaut. You go into Columbus. So it's going to be really tough no matter what. But certainly it's good for their confidence. And you're right. It was the best they've looked all season.
And 3 words: kickoff, weekend, host. Clinched for the Bulldogs. A second shot at
No,
it.
not.
No, not yet.
So we haven't really talked about this.
Oh,
There's
14. I
only
forgot.
14.
Chris,
They are
you're right.
definitely they're in right now the
I
14
forgot.
spot,
Yeah.
but there's still things to happen, right? Stanford could upset the apple cart
Yeah.
here.
Oh, I forgot. Good
But yeah,
memory by
next year the
you.
dual hosts with Baylor and SMU, and neither one of them a top 16 team, means 2 schools get into the kickoff weekend. So only 14 hosts next year for kickoff weekend, which also means 4 schools less get to make kickoff weekend. A little unfortunate. So which, as a side effect, not that we need to talk about that here, but last year those NIT matches did not count for rankings. My understanding is this because they didn't get them sanctioned ahead of time, and it was after the 144 days, et cetera, et cetera. This year, I think they took care of all that. So Tulsa and the men winning the NITs some of that may have impact on those teams hovering, in that 60 area that are looking to make kickoff weekend. So that's going to be interesting. But yeah, no, it's a battle right now for that top 14. Oklahoma, Mississippi State, South Carolina, Texas A&M, Stanford, all battling for probably those last two hosting spots for kickoff weekend.
It's fascinating to think about. Again, someone texted me today. I had to think in my head. I was like, "What did I get this text?" Someone texted me today. Hey, like, if you were a team drafting in the kickoff draft, where would you want to go? And all I could respond was, "Way too soon." I was like, "Don't ask me that on day 2 of portal season." I was like, "Ask me that a month from now." And
Oh, the
when it's
problem
the
is a
day
month
before
from
the
now,
draft,
they'll
yeah,
probably already
exactly.
have had the draft.
That's a good point. Good. Hey, great shot by you. Not a bad point. Those again, where I would say 4 teams that were particularly impressive: Harvard, Duke, A&M, Mississippi State in ways maybe you didn't expect. There were some teams who got pushed that I just think is worth spending a second on here quickly. And I put that team in the wrong category, so I will move them here. But Ohio State got pushed by Oklahoma State. Like, yeah, they took the doubles point. Yeah, ultimately it was a 4-1 win, but again, Bernie got pushed to 3 sets at 5. Anthrop took his first loss of the season at that number 3 spot to senior Alex Garcia in his final match on the job. You had Beecroft and Kingsley in a really fun straight set match that, yeah, Kingsley was about to serve for, but still very competitive there. Now, Cash and Tracy cruised, and that's the problem with the Buckeyes is they're going to beat you badly in 2 spots always. The question is, can you run the table in the other 4? Oklahoma State wasn't able to, but I told you that match would be sneaky competitive, Chris.
Yeah, I didn't really expect it to be. And definitely shocked that Anthrop, lost a match. They're not the team I thought that was probably really going to be pushing them down low. So definitely a good win there for Oklahoma State. But yeah, maybe something that Mississippi State's going to be looking at going, all right, how do we do that here? But yeah, look, just too much talent on that team in the end. But it was definitely interesting to see them get a little bit of a test.
That's what I'm saying. It's a push of like Oklahoma State played solid and the Buckeyes still won 4-1. It's like, yeah, okay, you think you're pushing them and they're still going to 4-1 you because Cash and Tracy are going to win in straight sets, or Bernie and Anthrop on a given day are going to win in straight sets. By the way, we saw the lineups: Tracy back up to 3, Anthrop back to 4 after this past weekend. So again, Buckeyes through 4-1. I said a bit of a push, not a push, bit of a
Yeah,
push.
yeah.
And then Florida State 4-1 over UCF. Again, UCF comes out, they take the doubles point. First sets are really competitive everywhere. Then a downpour comes, and Florida State didn't play around after that. Straight set wins at the top 4 spots. Now, Mehdi Benchacrone, I butchered that, I'm sure, was about to get a win at 6 for UCF. So this point, final score line probably looks 4-3 or 5-2-ish if you played everything out. But man, like, for a Knowles team that lost some tough matches at home this year, this one squeaking it out to end your regular season in Tallahassee or end the season in Tallahassee had to have felt good.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good. Let's start with UCF. A good season for them. They
Great
looked,
season.
yeah, they did fantastic. You had brought up earlier, and I don't know if you had this conversation with anybody during the week as I did. You brought up the 4 threes for some of the teams this year and the 22 Texas team. I had a question during the week, and I don't keep enough data to be able to answer it, but it was an interesting question. How many teams have had 4-3, 4-3, 7-6 in the third matches in a
And
year?
it's a great question.
UCF did that this year. So 3-4-3
Beecroft,
matches,
Oklahoma State. Yeah.
7-6 in the third. I mean, that's just it's crazy. I started, and it's funny because when the question came to me, the first thing I did was go look up 22 Texas. I was like, well, I know where I'm starting.
Yeah.
And it was like the second I think they had
I
maybe
like that.
5 or 6 4 threes. I don't know, but the second one I pulled up had a 7-6 in the third, and I thought, ooh, we might be on to something. And that was it. I couldn't find any more.
I
Uh,
like that.
But yeah, great season for UCF and Coach Burgess there. But yeah, look, I mean, Florida State, they've really come on. It's going to be a very to I've heard you say it. It's the same thing I said because I had Tennessee on my broadcast. Is man, the marquee match that's coming up is ACC and Joe Monday, right? I mean, that's wow. How you couldn't ask for anything better. I don't know what. I honestly have no clue what we're going to get for the next five spots, but that's the match that's going to be just stellar, and everybody wants to see it.
Yeah.
But a great year for Florida State. I mean, you talked about it. You had the ACC coverage this year. You talked about it as we head into the ACC tournament. How can you possibly think you're going to be a top 16 host when you've lost all five matches, to whoever, Wake, Virginia, Duke, North Carolina, and NC State,
Mhm.
and
At
all of a
home.
sudden at home, and then they run the table in the ACC tournament, and they've just gotten hot. I think I think this team could be really, really dangerous if they could somehow figure out how to get Josh Deuce Carpenshift turned on. It just has not been a great year for him. Still struggling a little bit. ACC's been great. Connell's been great. LP and Rahane can be good at times. Bolte's has been solid at 6 if they can just figure out how to get him going. And he was good last year. This team could be really dangerous.
Absolutely. Again, Florida State threw 4-1 over UCF. Last but not least of the host seeds, hit the Staples button because they made it look easy in weekend number 1. Chris will rapid fire. You tell me, did you learn anything new about any of these teams? Number 2, Texas, 4-0 over UCLA in their regional final.
Yeah, I had that on the stream too with the monster rain delay. Nah, I mean they look good. They're solid. They had a couple matches where they got pushed. Of course, you expect Nanda Spazzeri to be a good match, and it was. But they're just really good. And I think, A&M's just gonna have a lot of trouble trying to match up with them.
They should put that as their Twitter bio. If again, we're asking these teams to get more involved on social media, they're just really good at college tennis rank should be in their bio
Yeah,
because that's a good description of this Texas team. Virginia 4-0 over VCU felt like they really righted the ship this weekend.
I'm not even sure what to make of it because I just think they had a region that they weren't going to get pushed in no matter what.
Yeah,
So
but they didn't. That to
yeah,
me
they
is the
did.
big
Oh,
thing.
there's no question, and I
Yeah.
fully expect that we're going to see the Virginia we've seen the last couple of years going into the NCAA tournament. We're going to see them in Stillwater,
Yeah.
and we'll see then. But yeah, they did what they had to do.
Next 2 words for you, chosen one. He makes his return. Seb Gorsny back on the doubles court for TCU. They looked really good in their 4-0 win over Cornell, Chris.
I'll be honest, I got to see nothing but the score, so I couldn't. And honestly, what I wanted to see was some of the match to see real and just the two courts. How did Fernley look? How did Gorsny look? If
Yeah.
they both look healthy and they're playing well, that's a team to be reckoned with for sure.
Yeah. Still no Gorsny in singles, but of course to have him back in doubles, he's been top 10 with Vivez. They played him with JPJ at 3. Like they made some switches. I didn't hate it, is what I'm trying to say. That Cornell team's damn good. They looked really good. They were dominant in the round 1 win over Arkansas, a match we thought would be very, very close. It really wasn't. But TCU through to another round of 16. Coach Roditi going to finish top 10 for a decade straight. That's impressive stuff. You just don't see that very often.
It's
Tennessee
not just Coach Roditi, right? I mean,
and
Devin Bowen
TCU.
does an
Yeah, I
amazing job.
should say Devin Bowen's going to finish top 10
Yeah,
for
yeah.
a
Coach
decade
Roditi's
straight.
riding the coattails of Devin Bowen.
Yeah, he's just going to look handsome along the way. Honestly, if you said that to Coach Roditi and he said, well, at least he called me handsome. Like, I just want you to know that I'd be like, yeah, I am handsome. And so that's why we love him. Number 7, Tennessee, 4-0 over Memphis. Made it look pretty easy, even if you couldn't follow the scores.
Not as nearly as easy as the score would make
Yeah,
it.
the hardest part was watching.
I mean, I I had it on the stream, and I
Yeah.
feel bad that I don't remember off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure they split first sets 3 apiece. And
Really? All
yeah,
right. I
yeah.
have it in front of me now. Tennessee getting first sets at 1, 3, and 4. Memphis got first sets at 2, 5, and 6. And by the way, the doubles point came down to a couple breakers at 1 and 2. So you're absolutely right.
It
Far
was
closer. Should have been in the
yeah,
push category. My bad.
Yeah, when I saw your list of those, I thought, man, I don't know. I might have said that they got pushed a little bit because they did. It was a little bit of a push, and even Joe Monday was down. Monday was down 3 set points. Mitsui and Monday were both at 4-5, down 15-40, both serving. Mitsui gets broken to lose his set. Monday comes back from 15-40 to hold, gets it to a breaker and wins. But they had 3 points there to go down 4 first sets to Memphis. And so Memphis was really pushing them early. It was definitely a test. The score doesn't look like it in the end at 4-0, but it was a push and a test for Tennessee. And I think that's the thing that I saw that I makes it even more interesting for this weekend. And look, no Chris Lee. So he has been submitted on the roster. Obviously, people have seen stuff online. He's in the portal. I have no idea what that means. He's listed. Might he play? Was he injured, or is it one of those situations where no, he's just out? I have no idea. But it gives you a little bit of cause to think that that match with Florida State could get really tricky.
It should have been the bit of a push category. You're absolutely right. Last but not least, Arizona 4-0 over Auburn. As expected, they looked really good. This is as dangerous. Again, I think Nick Gruskin said it last week, and I agree. They are the ultimate bracket buster. Like if they're hot, they can beat anyone.
Yeah, and I would venture to bet that if we started, like ESPN does with theirs, if we started a fresh, hey, make your Sweet 16 picks right now, I I would be willing to bet they garner 75% of the picks over Columbia in the next round.
I was going to say 80, 70%. Yeah, that feels about right. Again, it's really hard to pick against this team, the confidence they bring. Just some quick round one notes, fun matches. Auburn 4-3 over Pepperdine, UCLA 4-3 over LSU, UCF. You mentioned their 4-3 matches, 4-3 over Florida. Memphis, really impressive 4-3 round one victory over UNC. You had VCU, who was down, but ultimately able to flip the script 4-2 over Princeton. San Diego 4-1 over Baylor, Oklahoma State. The weirdest match. They win doubles, 6 first sets. I think Vandy won 5 second sets. Ultimately, the Cowboys 4-1 over the Doors in year one for Scotty B. Michigan State ends the undefeated season of Denver. It's a really competitive 4-0 match. Again, much like this Memphis Tennessee, one closer than the experts would expect. Cornell, I said 4-0 over Arkansas. They flexed. Middle Tennessee 4-1 over Georgia Tech. Flex, although disappointing loss for the end of the Andreas Martin era. No doubt about that. And then last but not least, the Manny Diaz era coming to an end. Arizona State 4-3. They knock off Georgia. It just felt like Georgia was on the wrong end of those 4-3s so frequently this year. And look, they're a really young team. In the future, Jamie Hunt will reap the benefits of getting to play all these young guys so many reps as he did this year. But it's a tough way for Coach Diaz to go out. Still, Chris, I give the over under 18 months till there's an ITA award named after him.
It's probably under. Yeah.
Yeah,
It'll probably come within a year. Yeah. I mean, just obviously legacy career for Coach Diaz.
the man.
Nobody's worried about what's going to happen to that program. Look, we have various kinds of characters in the coaching industry. Jamie Hunt's just flat out one of the best. He's all class. He's not going to cut corners. He's, a great guy, and a super recruiter. He's going to rebuild, that program. Look, and I say rebuild, not to imply that anybody let it get away. It was just tough. EQ leaves early because he needed to. Mickelson never comes because he
He
shouldn't,
didn't need
because he's
to.
yeah,
Yeah.
because he was, top 100 in the world. Boosie doesn't come. Like, there's just things there's sometimes you can't do anything about those things. So you lose 3 guys you think you're gonna have. You gotta build back up. Jamie's the guy that's gonna do it. They'll be fine. It'll be fun to watch them go moving forward.
Oh, you're telling me they have to build back better, Chris Halioris? Is that what you're telling me here?
They're gonna
Don't respond. Don't respond.
make
Don't
Georgia
respond. Don't
great again.
respond. Yeah, don't respond. Um, uh,
You opened it up.
I
Sorry.
knew you were gonna say something stupid. Anyway, so I was like, oh,
Anything
I
to
was
get
like, is
under
it?
Gruskin's skin.
I couldn't help it. No, look, Coach Diaz has been the man. He's been so good to our cracked racket team, and to have his nod of approval early on, if the legend says you're good to go, other people are going to take note of it. And so, um, again, what a career it's been. One of the GOATs, no doubt about it. If you're making a coach in Mount Rushmore, he's on it right now for sure.
And I'm sure we'll see him around.
Yeah, again, Vegas came out. He's plus 2,500 to be the next ITA CEO. So it's if that's how you want to burn your
What do
money,
you think the odds are that we get him on the tourney preview show next year making picks?
higher than the odds you actually vote in November. To go full
That's for
circle.
sure.
It's not funny, vote people. Believe me, I'm working on Chris. Anyways, yeah, that's my response to you. We can move on from there, Chris Halioris. That's everything from the opening weekend of the 2024 NCAA tennis tournament. So let's have some fun, Chris. Let's preview the 2024 NCAA Sweet 16. And look, we're going to have 14 of the 16 men's and women's matches on our Cracked Rackets YouTube channel across our 3 streams. Chris and I fortunate enough to get to steer a couple of the ships. If you're watching live, you see the bracket and the draw now on your screen. Chris, I divided things into categories, 3 categories. Clear your calendar. What version do we get? And a clear favorite. I have one match in the clear your calendar section. And I'm not saying, by the way, that all these matches aren't going to be really fun and there's not storylines we can talk through here, but let's talk through them all. Let's try to spend no more than 3 minutes on each. Columbia versus Arizona is clear your calendar. Year 1 in the beautiful Milstein Family Tennis Center, a Columbia team that has been knocking on the doors of being top 8, getting to a quarterfinals for almost a decade now, and they have a golden opportunity to do so against just the ultimate chip on your shoulder. They would think they're an underdog, even if they were the higher ranked team, Arizona team that just like they can smell them, they can taste them, they can see the Buckeyes on the horizon. God, like, do they want that matchup more than anything? And maybe I'm projecting there. Maybe I want that matchup more than anything. Like, here's the thing: Columbia is fiery. Arizona punches you in the face. Like, it's just this. Maybe Arizona's postseason run is just inherently popcorn, so they're going to be clear your calendar for me as long as they're alive this May. But this is my favorite match of the weekend. Am I crazy? And what's your read on it?
It's not my favorite match of the weekend, but it's absolutely going to be a great match. And yeah, it's one of those, like I said, I think people are gonna, look, the Ivy League, because they're not a Power Five, just is inherently not going to get the respect, even if they deserve it, right? People are gonna kind of look down on them. Columbia's at home. I think personally, I think outdoors
Mm-hmm.
that's on the roof there, right? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I think it looks too good for Arizona. If I'm Columbia, I'm doing the rain dance. I'm like, let's get this thing indoors. Let's go down. Let's play inside. It's the crowd, the fans there will make it very loud. That place is, it's a very distinct home court advantage indoors. I saw the crowds there for the Michigan match. It's even outdoors. It's good. I don't know that it's necessarily as good as indoors, but I don't know, man. That it's going to be a very difficult matchup, I think, for Columbia at the top. The top 3, clearly Zhang's going to match up fine. We get past Zhang, and I think those 2-3 spots are just going to be a really tough match for them, and it's going to be a dogfight down low. Hoyerall's been so good for Arizona this year. I don't know how you beat him either. I almost have to go look. Arizona's the favorite at 2-3-4. Makes it a tough match for Columbia, but they're the home team and the host, and you always lean advantages to the home team in certain areas here. So it is going to be a great match. I know you're going to make me make a pick. I'm going Arizona 4-2.
Yeah.
Uh, and
I think you
yeah,
I think you nailed the paths. Like doubles, 2, 3, 4. If you're Arizona, that's what you come out and you think we should take all these spots. If you're Columbia, doubles 1, 5, 6. Like and the Constance and Westfall, you feel like of course they can go in and win any match that they play. But yeah, like staring down the barrel of Friend, who on the right day could be the best player in college tennis. Strom and Hoyer is a tough 2 through 4 to
yeah,
have
that
to
2-3-4
face.
is
Yeah.
going to be so hard for Columbia to beat.
Yeah, and you walk on every match thinking Michael Zhang's the best player in the nation if you're a Columbia fan. So certainly, again, him versus Smith, one you feel like you have to take, even if Colton Smith, you never want to be like, all right, that's who we have to beat to win a match. again, Nick Gruskin might train in from Philly. Like he wants to see this one. It's gonna be really fun. I'm excited for it. That's my clear your calendar number one. I got 3 matches, Chris, in the what version do we get category, because I think it depends. Like, what version of these teams do we get will dictate how fun this is. I think all of these matchups belong in here. I mean, Stanford, Wake Forest. What Stanford shows up? Do we get Stanford versus San Diego in early March? Stanford? Do we get Stanford who beat Arizona and Oklahoma? Stanford. Wake Forest has been pretty much the same team all season long. Doubles, 5, 6, one more. And they can find any of those top 4 because they got a lot of experience up there. Seniors in Thompson and Maroney, and Taki's been around for a while. Suresh, obviously, in his second year, but plays top 25 tennis at times. Which Stanford shows up is maybe the question of May in this men's postseason. Who you got? What's your read?
Yeah, and I think you nailed it. And I think what that means is, what max basing do we get?
Yeah.
Because honestly, the recipe for Wake is doubles 5, 6, find another. Stanford's looking at this match going, we're winning 1, 2, 3. Like, we should. They're absolutely the favorites at 1, 2, 3. So if you go down that path, it's doubles 5, 6 to Wake, 1, 2, 3 to Stanford. Who's winning 4? And that is the key swing match in my mind, because, and obviously it's never going to play out exactly like that. Someone's going to have a good day, but you probably get one to flip the other way on the other side, and it might still come down to 4. But yeah, I mean, ooh, if in basing obviously is, I haven't seen enough of him this year to know. Obviously, a lot of injury issues for him, and how strong has he gotten, and how's the wrist, and how's he looking. If they are if they're fully healthy, I think it is just a brutally bad matchup for Wake at home to face these guys who basically just have strengths everywhere they have weaknesses. I would almost, if I'm them, I'd almost rather play a team like Kentucky, where we're just, hey, let's match strength on strength and see where we go. Because at that point, yeah, let the better, if your strength is better than our strength, and that's our strength, and you beat us there, so be it. You're the better team. This is just a matchup. It's a dichotomy here. We got the top of the lineup for Stanford, the bottom of the lineup for Wake. Let's see where we roll. I'm actually going to roll with an upset, and I'm going to say Stanford comes out and wins this one 4-3.
You still hate Paul Goldstein, or is it back to
I
love?
hate Paul Goldstein for the fact that I'm picking this match again for Stanford.
That's so true. You're a one-trick pony, Chris.
But this is it. No matter what. Well, I'm not going to say no matter what, because if South Carolina upsets Virginia, maybe I wouldn't. But if they do win, no matter what, I'm not picking them again. Virginia's going through. But
I think I'm gonna end your. I think I'm gonna end. And there's zero chance I remember this, but I'm gonna end your intro now saying he's always fly, the king of the calculi. I think that's a pretty good line, right? Because your calculi has been on point so far. I've really enjoyed everything, your analysis through these first 2. He's always fly, king of the calculi. Chris Halioris. I think that's pretty good. Anyways, we'll work that in later. You talk about the contrast, your strength versus my strength. That's Kentucky versus Harvard. Like, it's all right. Harvard's going to roll out our top 4. Kentucky's going to roll out 5, 6, and all things Kentucky. Just they don't lose close matches ever. Again, you really need to go listen to Cedric Kaufman talk about his top 4 in his interview, because listening to him rave about them and the top 3 in particular, like, I was kind of like, you know what, maybe they have been good this year. Maybe I don't know what I'm seeing. It was a good sales job. And it's always a pleasure to talk to Cedric. He's the man. It's great to talk to Andrew as well too. Like, I think both these teams are really excited for this matchup, which, by the way, is the second time Harvard's gone to Lexington this year. It was a 5-2 win for Kentucky earlier this season, but there's absolutely something to Harvard's going to be more comfortable. Like, they kind of know the matchups. They know Lexington. They know what to expect. Again, on paper, why can't Cooper go get a win at 1 over Taha? Why can't Henry go get a win at 2 over Josh? Why can't Malofsky, as he's done all season long, get a 3 over Jaden Weeks, a spot you feel like you have to win if you're going to have any shot against Kentucky? And by the way, as we've learned for the last 2.5 months, even if you beat Jaden at 3, you're probably still losing. Not probably. Over the last 3 months, you are losing. still to Kentucky. Still, I kind of like the path for this Harvard team. Like it's there, it exists. Again, it's really hard to beat a team twice in 1 year. Eventually, your 4-2 luck, 4-3 luck runs out. I think this match is going to be really good. I think we need the best version of Kentucky to show up. That's why this is in the what version do we get category. What's your read, Chris Halioris? What you got?
Yeah, I'm not sure we need the best version of Kentucky. I'll say if Harvard's going to.
Okay, wait. Let me stop you right there. Ronan, video goes to him this week. Carry
Yep.
on.
I want the Ronin pointing. I mean, look, let's be clear. The I don't even know what the hell you call it. I want to say filmography. I don't know if that's a word, but whatever the hell that was, with him standing in the perfect position with his finger pointing up right under the 4 at the 4-0 in the scoreboard, that was outstanding. Ronan, you are more than welcome to do that to me if you win. In fact, you're more than welcome to make the hour drive west to my house if you do that
Or
in
make
Lexington this weekend.
the index finger the middle finger. Like I
Yeah.
know you can't do that on Instagram
I
probably
mean,
because you're Harvard and you're classy, but yeah, it's that Harvard
you know,
difference. They even get the angles right,
I'm
Chris.
going to say this right. If Harvard pulls this off and they stay the night in Lexington Saturday night, guys, please DM me, message me. I will come have drinks while you have soda water or whatever the hell you underage kids.
Dinner's on you.
But it's on me. And yeah, we'll have a night if you pull this one off. No, look, I don't know that Kentucky's got to be their best. I think the doubles point is absolutely critical for Harvard. I don't see them getting. I mean, look, Cosnay lost last weekend for Kentucky. I just don't see them losing at 4, 5, and 6 here. It almost has to be doubles 1, 2, 3. Cooper, sure, and Taha's great. I think the Lapadat von der Schulenberg match is going to be a tough one, but I almost feel like Harvard's got to sweep doubles 1, 2, 3 if they want to do this. You could always pull an upset. It will be an upset if they win at 4, 5, 6. I really like Kentucky here.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a really good match. Like I think it's gonna be really fun. I think this Harvard team is ready for this fight. And it's an experienced group. I am very grateful I don't have to make picks. And that's why I leave that burden on you because again,
it's not that you don't have to make picks, it's that you won't make picks.
100%. It's the happiest thing I've been to drop. Again, Harvard's good enough to win this match, but to pick against Kentucky and Lexington feels crazy as well. So you can make a case for both teams, and I think it's going to be really fun. Last one in this category, Tennessee, Florida State.
Oh,
Because I think both of these teams fit this, right? Like, you know what you're getting at one, and Monday versus Cornut Chauvin is going to be spectacular, but you don't know who's going to win that match. And after that, you never really know. I mean, I guess Mitsui Diaz, you kind of know. Connell's been really solid. You mentioned Bolte's been pretty consistent all year long for Florida State as well. But, like, I never know exactly what version of these two teams we're going to get. And look, again, like Tennessee lost this match last year to South Carolina, round of 16 at home. I think that plays a factor. Like, you have the best player in the country right now by the rankings in Joe Monday. You're going to lose twice in a year at home in the regional, super regional, not get him back to the final site. Like, I think that sort of thing matters for a group like this to get the guys fired up. Him, Diaz, T in the chest this weekend feels very, very possible. At the same time, like, Florida State's as hot as anyone in the country over the last 3 weeks, what they've been able to put together. And they got the big guns. They've got the experience everywhere as well. I don't think they have anyone younger than a junior in their starting singles lineup this year, Chris. It's tough to find a read on this match. What you got for me?
I'm going to say that for whatever reason, my gut tells me that the swing match here is going to be the all lefty battle between Connell and Pajonka. I mean, that's assuming, again, I'm assuming that there's no Chris Lee. Chris Lee submitted at 3 in the lineup. If he plays, that pushes everybody down. I just don't know what we see from a Tennessee lineup. We've seen Cobalt, we've seen Newton, we've seen Apple Tower. Like, what combination of guys are they going to play? I don't know. You mentioned it. I can't call the Monday ACC match. That is just going to be an outstanding match that I cannot wait. I'll have that on my stream this weekend. I can't wait to watch that match. We'll undoubtedly get a big dose of that one on my stream. And I've only got that Tennessee match starting at 1 o'clock on Saturday for 3 hours. So that one will be on the screen most of the time. Uh, I just have this feeling that that match at 3, if it is the two lefties, comes down to be a big swing match. Look, Mitsui, you gotta favor Mitsui over LP. LP will battle him for sure, but Mitsui, you gotta give him the advantage. After that, the bottom of the lineups are just it's a it's a complete toss up. I don't even know who we're seeing for Tennessee. I don't know if UC and I'm gonna favor Tennessee at 5, regardless, just because Josh has not been great for Florida State this year. But I don't know what to make of it. This is honestly a match I can't call. I could predict a winner and say, sure, I'll just go because I have no clue. I'll take the home team in a 4-3 match, but I don't even know how to predict. There is no whatever the hell my intro was. There's no calculi going here because I can't figure it out. It's everywhere. Every match could go basically either way in this one.
He's always fly, king of the calculi, Chris
Yeah, the only thing
Halioris.
I feel
Yeah.
good about is I'll probably take Mitsui at 2, which means LP is going to win. But
Yeah, and I believe you're on the broadcast for this one,
yeah, I've
which
got
was
this
my
one.
gift to you. I was like, I know what match Chris wants to be watching. I know what he wants to be calling. We'll get the best version of him if he gets Tennessee, Florida State. And yeah, that could have also been in the clear your calendar category as well because of just the thing is it belongs in what version do we get? Because to your point, every single flight is so freaking intriguing. Every doubles flight so freaking intriguing. And even if you like Florida State's roster 1 through 6 more, they're on the road. Like they'd have to overcome that too. And is the margin you like the roster that much more that you take it over that factor? Like you talked it all out. It's going to be a really, really fun regional, super regional, excuse me, in Knoxville. One we will certainly look forward to having on our broadcast. Last but not least, Chris Halioris, the clear favorites, my top 4 seeds, all in this category. Talk through these ones earlier, so let's just go through this quickly. I want you to give me match calculi for the opposing team if they were to pull off the upset. Ohio State, Mississippi State.
Oh, jeez. Hard to find a calculi here. Mississippi State has to win doubles. Their best spots in the lineup, Carlos Hernandez, Benito Sanchez Martinez playing 3-4. So those are musts. Don't ask me how you beat, Tracy and Anthrop, but it's 1-3-4 or it's doubles 3-4 and
Prayer.
find one more. It's never been 6 for them, which is problematic because you're not beating Bernie at 5. You have to win one of 1 or 2. So it's going to have, and Jovanovic has the talent. He's struggled to do it this year. He's had Davis Cup top 500 wins over the offseason. So I would say the calculus for Mississippi State is probably doubles 2-3-4.
All right, fair enough. Texas A&M.
I mean, another one. They're so good everywhere at Texas. But if you're going to beat Texas, you're going to have to win doubles. You're probably going to have to win 5 and 6. If Waldeeb's playing like he has been, that's going to be hard to do. But doubles 5, 6, and that spot for A&M, I'm going to say here's the problem. The best spot for A&M outside of that is J.C. Roddick. Nobody beats Michael Braswell. I'm sorry. It just doesn't happen. So it's not going to be Perego at 3. Like,
4, 5, 6.
yeah, I mean, that's probably it. It probably is 4-5 because you're not beating Perot's probably not beating Spiz. Like, yeah, it's probably doubles 4, 5, 6 if you're A&M. I just don't. That's even hard. That one's actually harder for me to see than the Mississippi State Ohio State match is.
Virginia versus South Carolina.
But we saw this. We saw this match once, right? I mean, South Carolina.
Sans Iñaki Montez, but yes.
Yeah, South Carolina is good at dubs. They can. I mean, that's actually a realistic possibility. They can take dubs. If you're playing Casey Houle, you must win 5 and 6. So that's Sar and De Silva at 5 and 6. So you go doubles 5-6,
And Toby.
somewhere in the top four, find one. That one, I mean, I don't know how you do it, but it's Toby Samuel if you're South Carolina. Now that means you're beating Chris Rodesh, which is very, very difficult. But I don't see Hool beating Iñaki. I don't see. Did they put Dietrich at 3? I think they
They put him
did,
at
right?
3, and Jeffrey at
Yeah,
4.
yeah. I don't see. Uh, is that Story? So that's Story then. Story
Dietrich.
playing Dietrich.
Sorry, Eagle.
Yeah, the Eagle. Maybe I don't see Daria Begi beating Von der Schulenberg, although Von der Schulenberg, in the big matches has not exactly been clutch for them. I'm gonna say that it's got to be doubles 1-5-6 with an alternate nod to Story at 3.
You're picking Virginia, though?
But Virginia, yeah, I'm taking
Yeah.
Virginia.
And then last but not least, I think there's a Spider-Man meme aspect to this one. TCU Duke, really good at doubles, really good at the top 3. I mean, again, what do we see for TCU in the lineup? That's the only reason you have questions about 4, 5, 6. Is it a rare day where you get Maxted, Jirasek, and Gorsny? Is it a day where you get Maxted, Jirasek, and Chan? Like, again, that's why you have questions about the TCU, not the level. You just have questions. Who are we going to see on any given day? Obviously, Krug, Visser, and then Ferris Khan's been the choice. Duke seems to think that he has found something down the season's home stretch, and certainly the results have been there. Again, like, it feels like this is one of those anything you can do, I could do better sort of matches
Yeah,
almost. At the same time, I really like this one. What say you?
100. I love the anything you can do, I can do better analogy because I was gonna say this is from past shows. This is your Duke's like the 85% TCU.
Yeah,
Like,
they are the Diet Coke to Coke sort of thing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same formula here, right? I mean, it's doubles in the top of the lineup, and it's doubles in the top of the lineup, and TCU is just better. So can do. I mean, Duke's just going to have to win those spots that they're good at. I think they're going to need to, between doubles 1, 2, 3, Duke's probably got to take 3 out of those 4, even if there's no Gorsny in the lineup. But if there's no Gorsny, it certainly gets more interesting now. Can the Krug and Down and Khan and Visser of the lineups take 2 matches in the bottom 3 spots if there's no Gorsny? Maybe. I mean, that to your point, that's really the interesting thing in this match. I think TCU, even as good as Johns and Rodinas have been, TCU's still just better. And Duke's gonna have to win those matches to have a chance in this match. I think if Duke can take doubles 1-2, which I think is critical for them, then they can go find one. But I think that's the path for them is you got to win doubles 1-2 and find one more.
This Duke team also sneaky chippy. Like, they have real personality. I mean, it's not sneaky, but it's just newfound. Like, all season long, they just play with edge. You have to play with edge if you're going to beat TCU in Fort Worth. It's actually going to be really competitive. Again, it might be a little anything you can do, I can do better, but I'm excited to have it on our stream. And certainly, again,
You've got this one on your stream?
probably if you don't, survey would
I
say
do.
that I
I
do.
know I don't.
Let's play process of elimination. You don't.
That means
So
you do.
yeah, so probably means I do. I'm excited for it, and yeah, again, it's gonna be a really fun round of 16. You see the matchups again from left to right: Ohio State, Mississippi State, Columbia, Arizona, Kentucky, Harvard. Virginia, excuse me, Kentucky, Harvard, Virginia, Kentucky, Harvard, TCU, Duke, Virginia, South Carolina, Stanford, Wake, Tennessee, Florida State, Texas A&M, Texas. We're going to have some fun. Chris Halioris, obviously, again, we're going to have coverage first ball to last 14 of the 16 matches. I believe the only things we're missing are the Columbia men and the Stanford women. Everything, and maybe UCLA women as well. So maybe it's 13 of 16. Still, everything else we're going to have first ball to last on our Cracked Rackets YouTube channel. Of course, a shout out and thank you as always to Westoff, you for the work you guys do behind the scenes as well. Before we get to that, though, Chris, one last thing to discuss here quickly. It is transfer portal season. and I asked you this before we started the show when I sent you the outline, to give me a team you are most intrigued by as we start portal season, whether it's with things they're adding, just whatever it may be. Give me one team you got your eye on here early in May.
In
Can't be
terms of the
Michigan.
team adding or the team losing?
It can be whatever you want it to be, Chris.
So look, I mean, well, okay, I'll look on a couple sides. The team's losing players here. From a portal perspective, look, VC, I mean, I'm not the guy that posts this stuff, but everybody's seen it at this point. VCU is losing, in all likelihood, a lot. The word is the budget's been slashed, and the players are obviously, obviously when the budgets are slashed, that means the money's not there, and guys got to look around. So a lot of guys in the portal, whether they leave or not, who knows? That is going to be devastating for the VCU program. And Coach Rossi has done an amazing job building that program. They are, before all of this happened, I was actually thinking through the fact that if you asked me who is the biggest lock of any of the men's 29 conferences that get automatic bids to the tournament, which one is the biggest lock? It is without a doubt the A10 and VCU. There is zero chance they're ever losing that, with what they've got right now. They're not losing that conference tournament. They are a bigger lock than anybody. He's done an amazing job there. So that's been a big thing. The other interesting one is just a lot of chatter around Coach Steinberg's first year in Florida and that Florida team. Aiden Kim already in the portal, Nate Bonetto in the portal. Are there more to come? I don't know, but that's already a big hit for them. So those are losses. The teams that I think are really looking to do some big things in the portal. Look, Arizona State is looking to do some things in the portal. They've got Murphy Casson, they've got Bohr, they've got McKinnon. They've got a great top three. If you can add one or two, and they've got some kids coming in from Florida next year, if you can add one big piece, that could make a huge difference in that lineup. I would like to think that Harry's doing some things with the portal. Look, you've got the core you've got at Michigan State. You want to continue to build. That's big there. I'm looking for some big things out of him as well in the portal.
I got nothing to add. That was very succinct, beautifully put, Chris Halioris. So that is where we can wrap today's show. Again, it's everything's in the air. Like coaching switches about to emerge, right? There's certainly going to be a head coaching job open here. I know Miami's already open, but once one domino goes, now an assistant job is open here. Now this opportunity is open there. This is where we make our living, right? This is where half the fun of being in Stillwater is getting to have those conversations and trying to figure out what the future might look like. That said, before we get to the future, we got to focus obviously on the present. We still got one more fantastic, of course, two more fantastic weekends of team tennis to go here in this 2024 season. And again, our Cracked Rackets team is thrilled to have coverage of this weekend's super regional action on our YouTube channel. A thank you to you for what you've done all season long and what you will do this weekend. A thank you, of course, to Westoff for the work he puts behind the scenes as well. And a thank you to all of you who have tuned into this show live, who tuned into our coverage of regional weekend as well. We appreciate the enthusiasm you all bring day in, day out. And we just try to match it, make sure all of us in the college tennis world get the sort of coverage we deserve. That said, Chris Halioris, any final thoughts before we head into super regional weekend?
I mean, look, outside of the super regional weekend, I can't wait for the following weekend when I'll be able to do, sort of this thing here, except my hand doesn't go through. I'll be able to reach out and touch you,
I
Gruskin.
know. Hey, man, it's good to
Yeah,
see you.
it's hard to do your hand the opposite direction. We'll be in Stillwater together for the week of the teams. I'll look forward to seeing everybody there. I also have to give some huge shout outs. I don't have it on right now, but man, I gave my shout for gear. It's what we know I work for. I work for the gear. Look, I'll be honest. Coach Grant Chen, Coach Lloyd Bruce Burgess, the packages I got from these guys, freaking amazing. The polos that I can actually wear to work because they have collars from both of these. I love wearing them into work. And all the people at work look at me and go, oh, more coaches sent you gear, huh? And I'm like, you bet, baby. Like, outstanding. I got the SMU gear, I got the UCF gear. I'm
That's
looking
good.
forward to seeing everybody in Stillwater, catching up with all the coaches, watching some great team action. Can't wait.
It's so funny. It goes in waves. Like, look, I I think after you have a family and kids and grandkids, all the things, you can wear whatever gear you want and no one's going to judge you because you're like, please, he's done with life. Like as long as he's comfortable and he's happy and that clothing was free, I'm jealous. I think I'm at an age, particularly given again, hashtag single, where I wear it way too often, all this gear that coaches are far too kind with. And I just have no shame with it. Like there's nothing better than when I get a look from someone and they're like, huh, like, wait a second. We are in New Palestine, Indiana, and you are wearing Oklahoma State shorts. Something doesn't add up here. And then it's like, also, the shirt you're wearing says Binghamton. And I'm like, yeah, that's how I roll. It's really fun. And again, yeah, coach, you're far too kind. We appreciate it all. Yeah, make sure Chris can't travel home because he's got too much gear. He's got to add it. Bring an empty
I'm
suitcase, Chris.
I'm literally checking a bag because I'm expecting A, gear, B, I gotta find some bourbon to bring home. But and you can't bring that on the plane. It's got to go in
True.
the checked bag. So
No, the other thing I'm hoping for, I heard there was again, I say this facetiously, there's a tornado that missed out of Stillwater. I'm gonna be there for 2 weeks. If I don't get one tornado, I'm gonna feel robbed. And so yeah, we got a lot to look forward to. It's certainly going to be a thunderous affair in Stillwater, and of course, we will be here this weekend to cover it all. We will be back next week as well to break it all down for all of you. And then, as Chris said, we're so close. I'll be able to again do this in person, the camera on us as well. God, everyone's like, they're so weird. Wrap the show. All right, we will. Again, shout out to Chris Halioris. Shout out to super producer Daniel Westa for the job he does day in, day out, making everything possible. And of course, a shout out to all of you who tune in and make this show so enjoyable for everyone that contributes to the podcast. I'm your host, Alex Gruskin. Chris, what do we tell our listeners?
hey, great shot.
And we will see you all this weekend for super regional action. Thanks, everyone.